Hi there, today is November 6th and I want to do something interesting. I will share with you a part of my Traders Masterclass and I'm gonna show you some techniques, tactics and guidelines how to combine Elliott wave theory with some technical analysis tools, which is very powerful and help us to understand more deeply what exactly happening on the market. So let's get started.
When we talk about wave analysis, perhaps the first question we need to ask ourselves is the following. Do I see something that I recognize? Is this a motive wave or corrective wave? Because this is extremely important, today I want to talk about the first category, which I divided into two types: impulse waves and leading diagonals. I'm gonna show you some rules, guidelines and tactics on how we can define them more easily so that we are almost 100% sure that what we are observing is an impulse. First, let's look at the structure of impulse waves. They consist of three motive waves and two corrective waves inside the impulse itself. The first, third and fifth waves are motive waves. As the first and fifth wave can be respectively the leading diagonal and the ending diagonal, or impulsive structure, the third wave is always impulsive. We will talk about diagonals in the next lessons. For now, it's important to understand the rules for the whole movement and pay attention to some guidelines that will help us in the correct identification of impulse waves and how to detect them on the chart. Also, each motive wave contains 5 waves and each correcting is drawn in 3 waves. Uh, this is the most basic thing that can be said, and I guess most of you are familiar with it, but we can't miss it. So, let's continue and see how this looks like on the chart. There is another question here. Uh, where is the correct place to start counting? Generally speaking, this is either from the top of the chart or from the bottom. Of course, the more advanced see the models everywhere, but for now, let this be a starting point, especially for those who are now entering in the wave analysis. In this example, we start from the bottom, and what we see is very clean and clear 5-wave structure. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, triangle for wave 4, and finally 5th wave. Here I want to emphasize triangle can be formed only in waves 4, B wave and X wave. It's also very important to note that the triangle precedes the final movement, the last movement of the wave sequence. And this is exactly what happens after this triangle, followed by the 5th wave, which is the last of the wave sequence. We see the expected decline in price. Also, one of the important guidelines is that the corrective waves in the impulse are nice to have a different structure in depth. And as we can see in this example, the second wave corrects the first deeper than the fourth corrects the third. For example, if wave 2 is a zigzag, I want wave 4 to form other corrective structure other than zigzag For example, triangle or flat. Also, if wave 2 corrects deeper, for example 61.8% FIBO of wave 1, which is also the most common for wave 2, then wave 4 I want to form a shallower correction. The most common for wave 4 is 38.2% of wave 3, by the way. Conversely, of course, if wave 2 forms some shallow correction, then we expect a fourth wave to be deeper. And as you may know, when we talk about impulsive waves, there are three rules that we cannot ignore. These rules are false. A second wave cannot move below the beginning of wave 1. A third wave cannot be the shortest wave in the impulsive structure. A fourth wave cannot end by overlapping the territory of wave 1. Okay, the first two rules are crystal clear, but I want to pay attention to the third rule. Note it states that the fourth wave cannot end overlapping the territory of wave 1. This doesn't mean that there can be no overlap in the process of developing in the fourth wave. Just cannot end in this territory. Let me explain. I have drawn an impulse. Now, wave 2 doesn't break the start point of wave 1. The third wave is not the shortest, and the fourth wave doesn't end in the territory of wave 1. Yes, it overlaps with wave 1, but it happens in the process of drawing the model itself, which ends here. Of course, there are variations of what I want to explain. The second wave can be an expanding flat, the fourth can be a running flat, but we will also comment on this in the following lessons. And now, let me show you some more tools that help us to identify impulsive waves. The first thing that can be used as a confirmation is the RSI indicator. I use it with default settings, which on most platforms is 14. This is the calculation period. Okay, what we are looking at is whether there is a divergence between an indicator and the price. In practice, this means a discrepancy between indicator and the price. What I mean, let's explain. As we can see, when the rise for the third wave make new highs, RSI is also making a new peak. This is followed by a correcting for the fourth wave and a new peak at the end of the fifth wave, where the indicator cannot make a new peak. This divergence that the RSI forms can only be observed between the third and fifth waves, which confirms that this is an impulse. In other words, when we look at a motion that we doubt whether it is an impulsive wave or not, we can check with the RSI whether it have formed a divergence between the third and fifth wave. Divergence is also formed in the correcting waves, so it's important to first see the impulse structure of the chart and then to confirm our interpretation with an indicator. Uh, the next indicator we will look at is awesome oscillator. Awesome oscillator. What we want to see is almost the same as with RSI. The peak of the third wave forms the highest peak in the indicator. Then the confirmation for the fourth wave is when the indicator goes below zero value. As the price of the fifth wave rises, the awesome oscillator forms the same divergence. It's also important to know that in the development of the fourth wave, the indicator must always be below its zero value. What's also specific is that if we don't see well on this time frame, we have to go down to a smaller time frame or go up to a bigger one. On the time frame on which the indicator make exactly what we want to see on the same time frame, the RSI must also form a divergence between the third and fifth waves. Also, when we talk about passing the awesome oscillator below zero, this should happen with no rupture. What do I mean? If we see something like this, a fourth wave develops and an indicator goes from the bottom, then from the top, then again from the bottom, and then continues up. This is an indication that maybe we should move to a larger time frame and look for what I explained. Let me note that this rupture occurs when the fourth wave is a triangle, but for now I recommend focusing on how to make things easier to understand, and of course over time we will go deeper into the specifics of individual situation. Mm, the next tool that will help us to successfully identify the impulse waves is the channel. Now I'll show you how to draw the channels. What we need to do is the following. We draw a channel starting from the beginning of wave 1 through the end of wave 2 and parallel through the end of wave 1. We call it base channel. After drawing the base channel, we get information about two things. First, when the price make a significant, I emphasize significant, break above the top of the channel here, this is a sign that we are working with third wave. The next thing we do is draw the acceleration channel. How we can do this? We do it by drawing the channel starting from the end of wave 1 through the end of wave 3 and parallel through the end of wave 2. What does this channel show us? When the price breaks and goes beyond the outline of the channel, it's a sign that the movement that has formed is our fourth wave. And finally, we draw a base channel again, starting from the beginning of the first wave through the end of wave 2 and parallel to the end of the first wave. What we want to see now is a fourth wave ending in one of these areas, here or here, somewhere in the channel. The important thing in this case is that the supposed fourth wave shouldn't leave the outline of the channel. This is important. Uh, yes, it's possible to be fourth wave, but if the price uh, leave the outline of the channel, but I prefer when we see something uh, something some price to go outlines, maybe go to the next chart. um, Now let's see what it all looks like on the chart. For example, I open Caragon Networks, and what we see first, we have 5 waves advanced, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and finally wave 5. I also notice that in the fifth wave we have clearly visible 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is a flat correction here and maybe zigzag here. Now we draw the base channel and the price makes a significant breakthrough in the channel, which means that this maybe is third wave. Then the acceleration channel, we start from the end of wave 1 through the end of wave 3 and parallel through the end of wave 2. The price exit from the channel outline, which means that wave 4 is developing. Again the base channel, and now the fourth wave is limited to the outline of the channel, followed by the last fifth wave here. And now let's see what the indicators show us. We add RSI and awesome oscillator. So the fifth wave makes a higher price peak, which doesn't happen with the indicators. This is our divergence. Now, if this is a fourth wave, we need to see how the awesome oscillator makes a breakthrough on zero value. Here. Okay, everything is okay, everything looks good. The next question is what follows then impulsive movement. Where can our inputs be in position, what to expect. We will talk about all this as well as many other things related to technical and wave analysis in the following lessons. I also won't say that there are still quite a lot of indicators, tricks and tactics that we applied in our analysis, but the way I teach takes a little time. The information needs to be well observed in order for things to happen. Real-time situations are needed, of course. And people, I'm sure that each of you has some method of trading, but it doesn't mean that we should stop to develop in this business as well as in life. This business is a process, not a one-time deal. Uh, Opening positions is the smallest part of the game. Psychology, discipline, self control, patience are the basis of success, both in trading and in many other aspects of life. When we understand where we are and where we want to be, then we challenge ourselves. We set goals. This actually is the only 100% a successful investment. Invest in ourselves. Mm, with enough perseverance, in the end, we achieve what we want. Uh, I love what I do, and I know that you feel like me. So I decided to share my knowledge so that more people could understand exactly what their own problem in trade is. And when we work together, I help them to become more confident and, of course, to be being professional in the business. Of course, I know these problems. I've been through all this too. You know, you find a strategy, everything works good for a while, and suddenly, boom, everything falls apart. You learn something new. Uh, you get better. You double your account, and you feel euphoric. And then you think you know everything. What happened next? Boom again. You're you're resetting your account, and I know this pain, but I also know the way out. I also know the way out of this situation. My students know what I'm talking about, and here the question is where there is a shortcut. How do I stop wasting my time and nerves? The answer is yes, there is a shortcut, but it requires determination and action. You need someone to help you, so you will be focused and more disciplined, which will soon give results. And then we turn into a freight train that can't stop, but this time in a positive direction.
So this is exactly what we are learning in my traders masterclass. And here, one more thing. Let's do our homework. Take a picture of what we've learned today. Send me an email. I'm sure I'll see your potential in your work. And who knows, maybe you'll get a next lesson. And of course, if you visit my channel for the first time, you can click on the button here, subscribe my channel today, and be sure to turn on notification. That's all for today. Be healthy and see you next time.